Hello, music fans. You're watching Death by Unicorn, where we talk about metal rock and prog music. And on this video, I'm going to talk about albums that I'll be listening to that are coming out in June 2025. So just a little bit of an album release radar here. And I've got 20 albums on my list, I believe. And let's just jump right into it. Starting with June 6th, we have the Deer Hunter releasing North American EP, as well as North American Tour 2023 soundtrack. And this is, of course, a great American progressive rock band. They have indie rock influences. Looks like there are two different vinyl releases from them, and I love this band. So two releases on the same day from them is really exciting. One is the soundtrack to their documentary film about their 2023 North American tour, which I believe is like showcases their tour, but also kind of has some acting in it and is not just like a typical tour documentary, though I haven't seen it. And I think this soundtrack release here is all instrumental. But then the other one is an EP that has five new vocal songs that the songs were in the film instrumentally without vocals, but they added vocals to them. So excited to hear that. Really love the Deer Hunter. I would even more looking forward to their next actual proper full-length studio album. And these seem like kind of just like special releases that aren't really part of their full studio album discography, but I'll definitely check them out. If that sounds good to you, if you like Deer Hunter, definitely check it out. Next up on the same day, we have Katatonia releasing Nightmares as extension of the Waking State, the 13th album by this Swedish band. And this is progressive metal with doom metal, alternative rock, gothic rock, and progressive rock influences. And I love the last six albums in a row by Katatonia, as well as the two singles I've heard for this new album. So I expect this to also be excellent. Their their first six albums to me are pretty average for me because I think they're really finding themselves and they explored and evolved across multiple genres. They kind of started with black metal and death doom metal and moved into gothic metal and alternative rock before finding my favorite sound of Katatonia, which is their progressive metal with doom, alternative, and gothic vibes. So now that they have that sound, I'm a big fan of them and looking forward to hearing Nightmares as extension of the waking state. And next up is Volbeat with Gods of God of Angels Trust. This is the ninth album by this Danish band, and it's heavy metal with hard rock, groove metal, and rockabilly influences. Also coming out June 6th. I thought their last album was very good, but didn't make my year-end list. Wasn't good enough to inspire me to do a deep dive on their whole discography yet. So I haven't heard everything by Volbeat, but I'm hoping they can outdo their last album with this. The pre-release singles so far have been solid, but I don't expect this to be anything too amazing. I'm just kind of curious about them, so checking it out. And then on June 6th as well, we have Phase Transition releasing In Search of Being, the debut album by this Portuguese progressive metal band. They have female vocals, and the singles here sounded great. I believe they do harsh and clean vocals here. So, really cool sound. Looking forward to this one. They could be a great up and coming band. Then on the same day, we have Kaonashi releasing I Want to Go Home, the third album by this American post-hardcore band that has mathcore, metalcore, emo, pop, and gent influences. I heard the 2024 EP by Kaonashi and it was good, but it didn't grab me enough um, to kind of make any year-end list or make me go back and listen to their whole discography or anything. But the singles I heard from this one ahead of time, those were really interesting. And I they're very cool instrumentally. I've heard Fairmount Park After Dark, When I Say and Red Sink, Yellow and Yellow Teeth. Yeah, Fairmount Park After Dark. When I say Red Sink and Yellow Teeth, those were very cool instrumentally, but vocally, I think this band is going to take some getting used to for me. The way he screams with such a high-pitched scream, it sounds like a Sesame Street character screaming over this band. And when he sings the chorus hooks, though, he's actually a pretty good singer. Maybe I'll get used to his harsh vocals. They're actually kind of entertainingly ridiculous, so I think this will be a really fun listen for me. I Want to Go Home by Kaonashi. And then the last one on my list for June 6th is Elbow with their EP Audio Vertigo Echo Elbow EP 5, an EP by this band from the UK. They're alternative rock with indie rock, art rock, and progressive rock influences. I thought the last album by Elbow, Audio Vertigo from 2024, was very good, and this EP is actually a companion piece follow-up to that album. If you're a fan of Dave Matthews Band, you might like this. It's got that alternative indie singer-songwriter rock vibe, but also has some horns and progressive influences and has cool riffs, kind of like cool indie alternative jammy kind of sound. If that sounds good to you, check out Elbow Audio Vertigo Echo Elbow EP5. Now let's talk about June 13th. Got some great albums coming out that day, including one from the band that I really love, which is King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. They're releasing Phantom Island. This is their 27th album because they're definitely a busy bunch. They release a lot of music. They haven't been going for that long. Um, Not even, I think it's been like they started in 2011. Don't remember. Yeah, I don't even know if it's been 15 years, but they put out 27 albums, so they keep really busy. They're from Australia. It's psychedelic rock, but this band is a bunch of chameleons. They can pretty much change genres every album. I think this one's going to be more psychedelic rock with orchestral. I think they brought in an orchestra on this. They've got, of course, their blues rock influence and pop and progressive influences on here. And this album was developed alongside their last one, Flight B741. But Flight B741 contained the more rowdy songs, while the new album, Phantom Island, is more laid back, and they added orchestral elements to the tracks on this one. And apparently, for their 2025 tour, they're going to be playing this album with a different orchestra in each city. So I think that's pretty cool, pretty ambitious. Looking forward to hearing what that one sounds like, and I hope it's a good one in their catalog. Then we have Byzantine releasing Harbingers, which is the seventh album by this American band. It's progressive groove metal with thrash metal and metalcore influences. And I love their work so far. I love pretty much everything that Byzantine has released. If you're a fan of Lamb of God, I think you'll like this, but imagine if Lamb of God had more progressive rock influence in them, and that's kind of what Byzantine sounds like. That sounds good to you. Check out Harbingers by Byzantine. And another one on June 13th by a great up-and-coming progressive metal band, Okrist, spelled AVKRVST. The V's are pronounced like U's here. Otherwise, it would be very hard to pronounce that. AVKRVST or something. And their album, Waving at the Sky. This is the second album by this Norwegian band. They're progressive metal, but they're not too intensely heavy. They don't focus on harsh vocals that much. Kind of for fans of like Porcupine Tree, kind of bordering progressive metal and progressive rock. And I thought their debut album was a near masterpiece. It was in my top 30 albums of 2023. And I think if this album's as good as that one, it's a strong contender for my year-end list. Maybe it'll be in my top 25 or my top 50 this year. If you're a fan of Opeth and Porcupine Tree, definitely check this out. The single I heard ahead of the release, The Malevolent, features Ross Jennings of Haken on guest vocals. He does a great job as usual. And a lot of their guitar riffing sounds a lot like Opeth, but then vocally they don't do too many. I think maybe on their debut album they had a harsh vocal or two, but they really focused on the cleans, kind of more beautiful sounding stuff, kind of like Porcupine Tree, Steven Wilson, but with some moments where they get into the heavy, evil Opeth metal riffs. So really love Oakrest and looking forward to their album Waving at the Sky. Three more coming on June 13th. I've got Fallujah with their album Xenotaph, the sixth album by this American band. It's technical death metal with progressive and deathcore influences. And I thought their last album, Empyrean from 2022, was excellent. I'm hoping they can even outdo their last one with this new one. Another one on June 13th is Altesia with The Somnambulist, the third album by this French band. It's again progressive metal, kind of on the border between progressive metal and rock. For fans of Haken, Opeth, Leprous, Dream Theater, Between the Buried and Me, and Native Construct, this one's pretty all over the place. The single I heard was called Her Ghost in Limbo. There are parts in there that even sound like System of a Down. So very fun, very you never know what you're gonna get. It sounds like this could be a band that could take you on a journey throughout the song and surprise you with lots of different sounds. So I really enjoy that. Really looking forward to this one from Altesia. Never heard anything by them, never heard an album by them before, but the single I heard got me really pumped. And last one for June 13th is Moonletters with their album This Dark Earth, the third album by this American band. It's symphonic progressive rock with hard rock and psychedelic rock influences. Another one who I've never listened to an album by them, but I enjoyed the single from this album that I heard, which is In the Catacombs. Let's jump over to June 20th now. I've got Cryptopsy on my list with their album An Insatiable Violence, the ninth album by this Canadian band, and this is technical death metal with deathcore, hardcore, and metalcore influences. I thought the last Cryptopsy album, As Gomorrah Burns, was very good, crushingly brutal, heavy, all harsh growling vocals, great technical guitar playing and drumming. Check it out if you're a fan of Archspire and The Faceless. They don't go quite as far on the guitar shredding and speed as those two bands. This band, Cryptopsy, focuses more on just being crushingly heavy, but they do have that technical aspect as well. And the other one on June 20th on my list is Nad Sylvan releasing Monumentata, the eighth album by this Swedish artist. It's symphonic progressive pop rock with soul influences. Now, Nad Sylvan's a Swedish artist who's played with several bands in the past. He works with Steve Hackett from Genesis on his Genesis Revisited project. The singles that I heard from this one were good, but nothing mind-blowing here. I expect this to be well executed and perform music by a talented professional singer, but I don't think that I'm expecting anything too innovative or unique here. I think he's, getting up there in his age and uh, unlikely to be an innovator in the genre at this stage in his career, on his eighth album and being an older guy. But I love to be proven wrong. I'd love to hear some youthful energy and exciting risks and taking the genre into new territories and trying new things. That'd be cool. I think I'll like it, but I don't expect it to be on my year-end list or anything. On June 24th, Streetlight Manifesto is releasing The Place Behind the Stars. This is the sixth album by this American band, and it's ska punk, a genre that I haven't really listened to in a while, but I did like it for a little while. This is their first album in 12 years. It's ska punk music with saxophones, trombone, trumpet, guitar, bass, and drums. Most of the members of the band contribute backing vocals. They do a lot of gang vocals. If you're a fan of Catch 22, the lead singer and guitarist of Streetlight Manifesto was formerly in the band Catch 22. I really enjoyed the first three Streetlight Manifesto albums back when I was in high school when they came out. Uh, but I don't think I heard their next two after that. I kind of lost interest in ska punk. as a genre, it's more of a novelty genre for me still, to be honest, but it's a really fun style of music to listen to from time to time. So I do plan to check this out. That's The Place Behind the Stars by Streetlight Manifesto. Another kind of novelty act that will be fun to check out is BABYMETAL releasing Metal Fourth on June 27th, the fourth album by this Japanese band. And it's kind of like power metal meets J-pop. Sometimes they call that kawaii metal, but they've also got their alternative metal, electronic, and trance influences in there. Now, I'm not a big fan of baby metal, but they are a really fun novelty act to listen to. So I do plan to check this out. They usually have some pretty hilarious, catchy, fun, silly songs with like catchy choruses. Oftentimes, their lyrics for their verses are in Japanese, but they might have like a really catchy English chorus. Um, so yeah, if you want to see three uh, female Japanese singers that do choreographed dances, I feel like this would be a really fun act to see live. Listening to it on an album, it's kind of silly, but kind of fun. So I'm going to check it out. Metal Fourth by BABYMETAL. And three more to go on my list here for today. I've got Sodom releasing The Arsonist, the 17th album by this German thrash metal band. They've been playing intense thrash metal since the 80s. I don't really know the catalog of Sodom that well, but I have liked some of what I've heard, so I put this on my list to check out. I haven't listened to much thrash metal this year, to be honest, but this will be seems like a good one to check out if I'm going to explore any thrash this year. And Jakko M. Jakszyk is releasing Son of Glen on June 27th as well. This is the seventh album by this artist from the UK. It's progressive art rock. So Jakko M. Jakszyk, he's an English musician, best known as the lead singer and second guitarist of King Crimson from 2013 to 2021. And hard to count how many albums he's done. I think this is his seventh under the name Jakko M. Jakszyk, but he's also had a couple earlier ones that he released just under the name Jakko. So maybe it's technically his ninth album. And it's too bad that Jakko never made any studio album in his time with King Crimson. I would have loved to hear that, to hear what he could have done with them in the studio. Uh, yeah, that would have been really cool. But I've never listened to any of his solo albums. However, I did hear the title track from this, Son of Glen, ahead of time. It's a great track, so looking forward to hearing the whole album. Check it out if you're a fan of, I guess, his work in King Crimson. Seems like it's going to be cool, chill, progressive rock, artsy music. And last one on my list for June, on June 27th, Grace Hayhurst is releasing The World is Dying. This is, I believe, the debut album by this artist from the UK, and it's progressive sludge metal with like, electronic influences. I heard an early single, the title track. It had an interesting blend between soft and heavy, accessible and progressive. So I put it on my list to listen to. Always great to check out a new progressive metal artist and female vocals here, which is not the most common thing in the genre of progressive metal. It's maybe becoming more common, and that's great to see. So I'm going to check this out. Not sure what to expect. I've only heard one song. It was pretty cool. So yeah, looking forward to hearing The World is Dying by Grace Hayhurst. And that is it for my June 2025 album release radar. I'm sure I'll hear about other albums as the month goes on and add to this list. Let me know down in the comments if I missed any that you're excited for. And also let me know which of the ones that I mentioned are you most excited for. And did I inform you of any that you hadn't heard of but now are excited for? And if you like metal rock and prog music, you've come to the right place. I talk about it pretty much at least weekly. I give my first impressions of new albums as they come out. So hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you're into hearing my thoughts about these albums as they come out, I'll likely release them each week, and you can kind of hear my first impressions of these albums, how I'd kind of rate them. And at the end of every month, I give my top 10 albums of that month. So if you're looking for new metal rock and prog music, you've come to the right place. Stay tuned for next time. Peace out.